The views and opinions expressed on the Middle Class VO podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests. Any feelings hurt therein are an unfortunate byproduct of the quest for infotainment. Also, please be reminded that concerted efforts have been made so as not to put anyone's knickers in a twist. Having one's knickers in a twist is not an objective or goal. However, if your knickers are in a twist and it persists for more than 4 hours, please seek out a physician. Moreover, if anyone were to feel besmirched by any of the commentary on the Middle Class VO podcast, it would be purely coincidental. No besmirchment is intended. Please enjoy.
Coming up on the Middle Class VO podcast.
I think human learning, perception, and behavior modification are 3 things that we as voiceover talent can always utilize.
If you need e-learning, we're just an email away. Corporate narration, tell us what to say. Explainer video, imaging radio, slinging local cars, reading IVR. No, we ain't no stars. This is the Middle Class VO podcast. The Middle Class VO podcast. The Middle Class VO podcast.
Oh, this is going to be a great episode, Bobby, because we're going to be talking with a guy that we both know and love. We've worked with him, and he is one of the best coaches in all of the land. Mr. Thom Pinto is joining us in just moments.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree on that. And if you've been anywhere near a TV or a radio in your lifetime, you have heard him numerous times and probably don't realize it's him.
Yeah, the voice of CBS News for years, the voice of national documentaries and national television commercials, and just one of the best acting coaches out there, so giving of his time. And we are pleased to welcome Thom Pinto. Hey, Thom, how are you?
Wow. Okay. I'm going to have to live up to that. I'm not the one and only. The other Thom Pinto, God bless him, is somewhere in under an oak tree in Simi Valley, but I'm his son, Thom Jr. Anyway, okay. Thanks, you guys. No, I appreciate you both are terrific talent and great people, and it was lovely to see you earlier this month. So I'm happy to talk, TV narration. I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about, Thom, because that is the candy store in which we like to steal candy. No, we like to earn it, actually. So, Thom, that's what we're going to be talking about, documentary narration, in-show narration. And the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, though, is our similar backgrounds. I think we all came from the same place. You came from radio, right, Thom?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about how you transitioned from radio into voice acting.
Well, the short story is I got tired of playing the Bee Gees. No. I mean, that is partly true. What happened was it was a period of time where they were starting to say, shut up and play the music unless you were the morning person. I had been a morning person. I wasn't as good as I had hoped I would be. So I found there was more creativity for me when they would say at the end of the day, they go, hi, you've got these 3 spots to cut.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I found that I had more enjoyment doing that. Sometimes I get a chance to, put on a voice as I do a character piece. I also tried to make it not sound like the radio station and sound more like what the product would be, which actually got me into trouble. Mm-hmm. We want you to sound like the station. But in any event, I became a production.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a production director at 2 different stations, and I still had like 1 day on the air. Usually it was Saturday. I think one station it was at Sunday. And then I decided to, I'm going to come back to LA, and I'm going to try to see if I can make a living in production. And if voiceover is part of it, great. And that was, that was 79, but it didn't nothing really took for me until I met a couple of guys and we formed a small production company. So I had a studio where we could produce spots, write spots, and then I was a part of a voiceover workshop, and they said, well, can we do it at your studio? And I said, fine. And so it kind of like began to take off from there, that I was enjoying VO just as much as putting together demos for people, which is what I was doing a lot. I was editing demos mostly at that point. Mm-hmm. Because I was.
Where did psychology come in, Tom?
Psychology came in, Bobby, when the communications major at UCLA after 2 years went, and I had to scramble and say, what major is closest to communications? And believe it or not, the prerequisite courses and some of the core courses were in psychology. But you know what? It turned out to be a blessing, because I think human learning, perception, and behavior modification are three things that we as voiceover talent can always utilize, and also as a director that I can utilize in terms of helping to, modify somebody's behavior behind microphone, or motivate them to do something that I need them to do, or in terms of writing or producing spots, trying to know who you're talking to and what's the best way to approach them. So my mom's always happy when I can use my degree. So she's probably happy right now somewhere in Medford, Oregon.
Oh, that's great to hear, Tom. So Tom, you've done a ton of documentary narration. You were the voice of CBS News for years, and these are all lofty goals for people. What makes for a good documentary narrator?
Well, I think that's evolved. And I think as you guys both, you've been doing this for a while yourselves. You guys both have been able to, without having major New York agents or LA agents, the two of you have both already, worked into that, into that genre through hard work and your own marketing. But I really think it is being aware of what all the networks are doing. For example, you both know that the Travel Channel is really no longer about travel. Their number one show is about ghosts. Now, I know that makes no sense whatsoever, but it's important. It's important to see what's happening there in terms of, okay, these shows require less narrators, but the less narrative parts, but the narration parts need to be a little juicier, or understanding that. For example, there was something that I just had yesterday where it said for a new crime thing, and they said, please, no gritty, ominous, deaf voices. We would like this to sound more like an observational podcast. You see, so as things begin to change, because if everything is sounding like this, then it's human nature. Here's the psychology again, Bobby. We've acclimated, and so we tune out. So networks are trying to find different ways. So I say you got to stay on top of not only what the trends are, but the best trend, I think, is the fact that it's not just Mike Rowe, it's not just Liev Schreiber, it's not just Sigourney Weaver, it's not just Peter Coyote. They're looking for a range of flavors and styles, and some that, dare I say, are a little more natural sounding to begin with. Not that it's going to be willy-nilly, instinctive conversational with a bunch of improv. It still needs to honor the words. It still needs to honor the pictures, which are really where the money is. So, but I frankly, I like where the trend is going. I just wish that some producers would not abdicate their responsibility in directing the talent, because I can hear certain series. I can hear a guy who's narrating something about the Alaskan wilderness, and I can hear him talk over and over and over again. He's droning on and on because nobody directed him. Mm-hmm. Great voice, distinctive voice, the right brand. He sounds kind of, that rough and tumble. I live out in the wilderness, but there's no storytelling. Even a non-pro has to be able to tell a story. That's what it boils down to. And I just feel like some of these are falling short of what they could be.
That's Scatworthy.
Well, like in the commercial world, the conversational read, or sometimes the snarky read, or the millennial read has been, on the map for a year or two now. Do you see anything like that in narration, for younger voiceover people?
Definitely. It depends on the network. It depends on the show. Now, for example, if you take something like E or TLC or Bravo, if they have what they like to call an unscripted show, unscripted reality show, much of it is being driven by the on-camera actors. They don't need as many narrators. However, E still does things where they need somebody for 3 to 4 minutes, do a wrap-up of all the gossipy news of the day. And so they're starting to use, snarky people who can, throw a dig at Jay-Z or, Kanye West or Kim Kardashian, whoever it may be who is screwed up that week. And so that does open up, some avenues for those styles. But the thing we all have to remember is that it's no longer education, it's edutainment. So even if it's a documentary on a wildebeest, they're trying to make sure that it's fascinating enough for a younger audience. They're not targeting, my age and above now. They're really trying to get a younger crop to be watching, documentaries, and I'm going to say docu-series, because those that air over and over again are more lucrative financially to a network than a single documentary.
Thom, can you make a lot of money doing documentaries or focusing on documentaries, or is that just something to supplement the coffer?
You know what? It depends. Obviously, there are certain years, like if you're lucky enough to have, 2 series that year, and those series both have, 13 episodes, and you've been doing it for a while, and so your agent gets you a decent fee. Depending on where you live in the country, that could be someone's income. But for me, it's a supplement. Mm-hmm. It's been a supplement. There have been a couple of years where it's been wonderful because I had like 4 or 5 things going at the same time. But that also, with long form, there's a lot of, as there's a lot of focus. And so it's like every time I was turning around, I was looking at a thick script, the night before. Anyway, but I think it's an augmentation. I'm not saying it's a small thing. It's and the reason why it's not as lucrative as somebody, let's say, who's on 2 cartoon series, one word answer: residuals. Mm-hmm. Most documentaries and docuseries are, and I'm not using the word non-union, I'm using the word non-jurisdictional. That's what the union calls it. So Discovery, who is not a signatory, not a union signatory, I can do a narration for Discovery without the union being upset. However, if History Channel, who is a signatory, has buys a program that was produced by Acme Productions, and Acme says, "Oh, we're not union," then I can't do that. If I know that the end user is going to be History Channel. And that's the first thing that my agents will say. They'll say the good news and bad news is you booked that thing, but the bad news is they're not a signatory and they don't want to pay for a signatory. What happens sometimes is in the second year for any series, for example, when I did Outrageous 911, that was a non-jurisdictional thing. But in the second year, agents always try to get you a bump. What my agents do for me is, sure, they try to get a bump, but in lieu of a bump, they'll say, in lieu of a bump, we'd like you to be able to use a signatory, use that money toward a signatory, so he's putting into his health and retirement fund.
Excellent.
And many times they say yes. Here's the other thing. When you're dealing with somebody like Peter Coyote, his agent says he's not going to do it unless you hire a signatory. Mm-hmm. So there are, there's a celebrity leverage there as well, but there are really no residuals. So I'm not going to try to throw out figures and make it. Somebody says, well, Pinto said it was this amount, but let's just say that a celebrity was paid $10,000 for a documentary on bumblebees. Okay, that's a buyout. No one's going to be tracking how many times that airs, because they may also go from airing several times on PBS, and then PBS may sell it to Nat Geo, and then Nat Geo will have it for a while, and they'll sell it to Animal Planet. So that's sort of like you take your money, you take the 10% that goes to the agent, you take the 14.5% that goes to health and retirement, and you move on. That's usually how it works in the in-show narration world.
Oh. So you personally, are you seeing in your narration work, are you seeing more directed jobs or self-directed?
A penny for your thoughts.
Well, there are more self-directed jobs, but thank God it's more the exception and not the rule.
Okay.
I would say, Bobby, if you did a show, let's say it was an offbeat cooking show, okay? And it's a half-hour episode. And you have an on-camera host. But you got to do the cold open. You got to do the setup of who the on-camera host is going to have that day. You've got to do maybe the narrative of the ingredients. Okay, what Giada's is going to use is she's going to use a special fish that they catch only in Sorrento on the Amalfi Coast. And then she uses a special kind of line that you can only find in Naples, okay? You may only have 4 to 5 pages double spaced. And that probably is where a producer, once they get to know that you're capable of doing it, maybe they direct you the first couple of sessions. After that, they may say, here it is. And they'll give you the timings and they'll go. But I you know what? Every time a director gets on, I did a series that is just starting to air. It's called American Wreckers. It's about a demolition derby, 2 teams. And, the first 3 episodes I did on my own. And then we had to do pickups because they changed the name of the show. And then they did bring in somebody, they wanted to retool some things. And he said, well, yeah, I like to direct the talent when I can. And he got on the line. He says, I think you did a fine job. You had very few pickups, but I hope you don't mind me directing you. I said, it's a relief. It's a relief because this guy was also very seasoned. He was able to say, okay, this is not as dramatic as what we're thinking. This is just 2 guys that are walking in and they're checking out, the damage to their car. Okay, we need to, or he'll say, on the other hand, we need to ramp it up right now because 2 guys are walking toward each other and the music's building and they're going to, they're pretty close to fisticuffs. Sometimes that's not always indicated in the script. It's not always indicated on the left side of the page where the visuals are. So it's great. Yeah. It's great to have that safety net that kind of gives you what? Beginning, middle, and end, so you're not all on one note.
This is all gold, Thom Pinto. We're going to let you go here in just a couple of minutes. But before we do, we would like to, if you will indulge us, we would like for you to be our first participant in a segment we call
Cold Read Challenge.
Cold Read Challenge, okay.
If you're up for it, Bobby's going to email you a script, like right now, and you don't look at it.
It's on its way.
It's on the way, and we just give you is the direction on the script, Bobby, or do we need to tell him?
It's a very brief description right at the top.
Tom, so as soon as you pick...
He's laughing.
I'm sorry. I just opened up the script, and I'm not going to give it away yet. Okay.
But please just dive right in with that direction, if you don't mind, for our first Cold Read Challenge.
Okay. On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair, warm smell of colitas rising up through the air. Up ahead in the distance, I saw a shimmering light. My head grew heavy and my sight grew dim. I had to stop for the night.
Oh, that is lovely.
Well,
okay, now can you give me an ABC? No, I'm just kidding.
That's Bobby's. Spoken like a pro. Absolutely. But you know what? Did someone tip you off as to how much I love the Eagles?
No, not at all.
That was Bobby's instinct right there, Tom.
Well, I have seen the Eagles more than any other. I think Elton John is second, but I've seen the Eagles more than any other solo artist or band. Now, on my cold read challenge, may I give you a character option on that?
Yes, please do.
Sure.
Okay, character option is this. Somebody says, do it as Dr. Evil.
Oh, no.
On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my freaking hair, warm smell of colitas rising up through the flippin' air. And up ahead in the distance, Scott and I saw a shimmering light. My head grew heavy and my sight grew dim. Mini-Me and I had to stop for the night.
Yes.
That is so great.
Oh, too funny.
Oh, you're
Hey, I just thought Hotel California for a Cali guy was perfect.
Well,
so you did a great
thank
job.
you.
You're hired.
I'm hired. You know, it was a seminal album. I was a disc jockey in the West Coast at the time. I know that was from the Hotel California album, but before that, the second one, Desperado, they shot it up in Joshua Tree. I was in radio in Palm Springs. I used to go up and camp in Joshua Tree, so I kind of had a connection with the Eagles all the way around. Hey, that was fun.
That was amazing,
fun.
Tom.
Now,
Thanks
what
for
can I
doing
send you guys?
Can we have you back on?
Oh, Jesus, if I have something to share or you got an idea of something, I'd love to. You guys are gas. And I, again, really enjoyed working with you guys in Chicago. You're both pros. You're both open-minded. You're both a great example of hard work and marketing. And I'm not just saying that. You guys are. It doesn't surprise me that
thanks.
the two of you are doing something here together because like minds, you know.
Well, thank you so much, Tom.
Oh.
And Tom, if you have room on the schedule, your schedule, and are you taking on new clients for coaching?
The answer is he's hesitated. The answer is that I've been working with a few people that are getting close to doing a demo with either Jeff Howell or J. Michael Collins or Eric Romanowski or Uncle Roy. So I'm kind of taking care of them because I only do about 4 of those a week. I do about 4 lessons a week. That's about the max I can do in order to be fresh for them and fresh for my own work. But you know what? If people have, here's my ideal client, somebody who's already been a success in another area of VO, but is looking to adapt their skills to VO, that's a candidate. I'm not working with brand new people that are brand new to the business and saying, oh, here, let's talk about broadcast narration. I have to prioritize somehow on that. So
Yeah.
I hope that didn't sound a feat, but I'm just, there are other people out there that are better commercial coaches, Marilyn Wisner, Dave Walsh, you know what I mean? That's what they do, and I think those are the people that they should look to.
Scabba-da-doo-ah!
How about any conferences or workshops coming up that you can announce yet?
I can tell you that the VO Roadshow in 2020, I am sworn to secrecy. There will be a couple of cities revisited, but there will be new cities that are going to be added to the list. As it turns out, between the number of people that are involved, it's hard to do more than maybe 6 or 7 of these a year. And we also want to rotate based on the cities to what the needs are. Somebody says, well, we don't need a lot of broadcast narration, but gee, we video games is sure really big down here in the heart of Texas. So, we're trying to respond to those needs. And I work in San Francisco too, with Voice Tracks San Francisco. Oh, maybe every couple of months I'll do a weekend workshop, but I don't have anything else on the book. I'm not going to make Atlanta next year. I'm hoping for 2021. Gerald and I have had a little bit of a powwow on that. So, but if something comes up, hey, maybe you'll be one of the first to know. But I thank you for asking.
Well, either way, if you have any questions for Thom, or if you would like to book Thom, or if you want to inquire about documentary coaching, you can reach out to Thom at pintopipes@gmail.com. Is that okay, Thom?
That was done very well. I don't need an ABC of alternate versions of that, Kevin. You
nailed it.
Nailed it as Bobby asked me to do before, though. Anyhow.
Thanks so much for your time. We've had a great
you're
time,
welcome.
Thom.
Such a pleasure.
All right, you two storytellers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thom.
Thanks, Thom. Appreciate it.
What a great guy. Just fun, insightful, and Thom, he's always going to give it to you straight. That's what we love about him.
I've got to set up some time for personal coaching with him. Every time I talk to him or work with him, it's like, I got to do it. He's amazing. And so humble.
Yes, absolutely. All of the above. Well, we hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Middle Class VO podcast. You can find us in many places, right, Bobby?
Yeah, you can find us at our Facebook page, Middle Class VO Podcast. We're on iTunes. We are on Podbean. We are, where else are we?
Spotify, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the places where the kids hang out.
Are we allowed to say that we've been nominated for an award?
Yeah, why not? Hey, why not? The Sovis nominated Middle Class VO podcast. And am I saying that right? Is it Sovis or Sovas? Sovas.
I think it's Sovis. Sovis, yeah.
Sovis. Okay. I heard somebody say it the other way the other day, and I'm like, oh, have I been saying it wrong all this time?
No, they're just stuck up.
The Middle Class VO Podcast is a K2 Media Productions production.
All views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests. The McVob jingle was written and produced by Kevin.
Co-produced and performed by Chloe Dolandis.
Additional engineering by Zach Zimmett.
Bobby's hair and makeup by Rebecca Adlita.
Kevin's wardrobe by Slippery Pete's Fashion Emporium.
All previous episodes are available for download on Podbean.
For the Middle Class VO Podcast, I'm Tracy Thibodeau.
I'm Lisa Lou Perry.
Thanks for listening.
And don't miss the next episode of the Middle Class VO Podcast. The Middle Class VO Podcast.
En el espejo en el techo, champán en el hielo. Y ella dijo, somos todos prisioneros, por propia voluntad. Y a los cuatro principales hacen su siesta, atacan a la bestia, pero no la logran matar. Mi último recuerdo, coreasen de la puerta, debió encontrar el camino por donde había llegado. Relación de portero, con eso no recibir, puede salir cuando quiere, pero nunca de partir. Welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely place. Welcome to the Hotel California.